What's up, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of We Are the Bonsai Supply. I am Jerome, and today I'm going to show you how to create a root over rock. Alright, so in order for you to do a root over rock, here's a couple things that you need. Number one, yes, you need a rock. Rocks are very difficult to find in Florida. They're very difficult to find in general, so to have a good rock is definitely key in your root over rock design. Next, you're going to need some moss, which is what is soaking in this little bucket here. I'm just using sphagnum moss, but you can use any type of moss. I've just been soaking it in here for about 5 minutes now. You need a tree, of course, and I chose this Chinese elm. You're going to need soil, gloves, because we're going to be handling moss. You need some wire to attach the tree to the rock. And then I like to use this cord to attach or to wrap the moss around the roots. So you also need screens to set up your pot, and that's about everything that you need. This is the rock that I chose for today, and I'm going to place it in the pot like this. And here I have a little platform where I'm going to set the tree onto, and then have it grow up from the rock. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can attach the tree to the rock and then bury the rock in a pot, in a deeper pot to about here, and then let the tree attach naturally, and then just come back like a year or two later and then remove all the soil, and then you have the tree already wrapped around, or the roots wrapped around the rock. Today I'm going to place it and then use moss to attach and to keep the roots from drying out. So you can also do that. For the base, you can make a little concrete base if you wanted to. This rock stands on its own pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 wires, one for here and one here, and then I'm just going to crisscross the wires to keep the rock from moving. Okay. So the first step would be to go ahead and set up the pot so that I can then tie down the rock. Alright, so I positioned the rock inside the pot, and I used a shallow pot because it's going to look like a landscape, so it's going to look really cool once it's finished. I placed the rock into the pot, and then I used the wire, and then I crisscrossed it. So I used the wire from over here, and this one from here, and this one from the front and the back. And I crisscrossed, and I tied the rock into position. And the way that I place it is that you can still see the inside curve of the rock, but also the platform where the tree is going to be sitting on. So next I'm going to have to go take this tree out of the pot and remove as much root as possible and see what remove as much soil as possible and keep as much root, and then I can see what I have to work with and how I can place this tree onto this rock. So we bare rooted the tree. We used first I used a rake to rake out all of the black soil, and then once I saw that the it was very compact and it had so much root, I went ahead and I used a soft shower setting on my watering wand, and I just used the water to wash out carefully all of the black soil. So now that I only have the roots left, this was important for me to see first of all how healthy the tree was in order for me to do this procedure. If the tree does not have a lot of roots or is not very healthy at this point, I would maybe choose a different tree at this point. But if you have ever dealt with a Chinese elm, they're very, very hardy trees, so I can definitely do this, and it has a lot of roots. I recommend that you do this type of work either in spring, right before the trees wake up, if you're working with deciduous trees. If you use tropical trees, make sure that you do it in the middle of the summer or when it is really, really warm, especially at night. Alright, so it looked like I removed a lot of the roots. The reason why I was able to get away with that is because I have so many feeder roots out here. So I was totally fine to take everything out that was in here. So now that I placed the tree onto the rock, I saw that there's two possibilities. One, I could place the tree like that, where it grows out of the or off the rock and grows straight up, or I could also lay it down like that, and then have it lean across a little bit, and maybe the tree blew over in a storm or something like that, and then just continued to grow. So I'm deciding between which one I like better. I think the laying down is more dramatic, but this one might be more beautiful. So I thought I was gonna have it sitting straight up on the rock, but now as I'm laying it down, it really fits nicely on top of the rock, and it makes the tree look like it had a real struggle as it was trying to grow. So it looks a little more gnarly, and I think I like this way a little better now that I'm placing it down. So this story could be that the tree was growing up at some point and then was blown over and then just continued to grow. That's the story that I'm sticking with. All right, so next I'm gonna have to use I always use an aluminum wire to tie the tree against the rock, and then I use the string to wrap the moss around the root ball. Alright, so the tree is now attached to the rock, and I just used moss to cover this section here so that this will not dry out from the sun. Most of the roots are already touching the soil, so I know that this tree will survive. This is just to cover, that it's not going to dry out. So next, I'm going to have to go through now and clean up the tree a little bit, and just make sure that the branches are a little better placed, and that's it. So just to recap, we removed the soil, we attached it to the rock, and then I used an aluminum wire to attach the tree to the rock. Then we used the moss to cover up the exposed roots, and then we just used this regular string here. I went through at the end and I just removed all of the branches that were growing the wrong way, and I also cleaned up the paths underneath. So if the branches went straight up or straight down or they grew back into the tree, I removed those, and then I also removed the leaves that were growing underneath the branches. That's just going to make it look a little tidier. Um, I can imagine that the tree will be shrunk in the future at some point, but for now I think this looks really cool. Alright, so now that I finished putting the tree on top of the rock, I have to be very careful with the aftercare to ensure that the tree will survive. So I'm going to keep it in a shaded area where no direct sunlight will touch the tree, but you want to make sure that you keep it outdoors. And I'm going to water this tree every single day, and I'm going to make sure that the moss does not dry out. I'm going to water the tree every day. I keep it in the shade until I see new growth. Once I see new growth pushing, that's when I know the tree is ready for me to put the tree back out into full sun. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and please make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.